So this is a creepy story that I don't usually talk about. It happened to me quite a while ago, so I probably won't remember all of the details, but I will never forget the strange experience that took place at a nearby subway station, which drove a sinister wedge between me, my friends, and my family. I was around 22 years of age at the time, and I had just started taking music lessons in the evenings. I was at a stage where I was still trying to figure things out and get used to life in the big city. I remember that the lessons finished a lot later than usual that day for some reason, so it was already well past 11 at night by the time I got to the subway after grabbing a bite to eat, which meant that the circulation of trains was few and far between. As I anxiously waited for the signature sound of a distant train, I observed the platform and was surprised to see how abandoned it was. I had taken the subway at unsocial hours before, but I had never seen it as empty as it was that night. It was very quiet and there was no one else around, at least that's what I thought, until I noticed someone standing behind one of the columns near the edge of the platform. I leaned forward to get a better look, but it almost felt like the stranger was intentionally trying to avoid being seen, so I just looked straight ahead and minded my own business. But the silence didn't last long after that. Suddenly I could hear the sound of someone whistling. It appeared to come from all directions, and there was something about it that made me feel uneasy, but luckily it was soon overshadowed by the sound of a train fast approaching. As I prepared to embark on the train, I was surprised to see a well-dressed man step out from behind a column and walk to the edge of the platform. I felt relieved to see that it wasn't some thug or potential troublemaker, yet still, something was strangely off about him and he seemed somewhat gaunt. It always made me feel a little nervous to see someone standing so close to the edge of the platform, even when it was a stranger, but I suspected he was just as anxious to get to his destination as I was. Midnight was close upon us, after all. He stood there, very still, and hadn't acknowledged my presence whatsoever until he slowly started turning his head towards me. With eyes wide open, he greeted me with a creepy grin and an unsettling stare. I made a conscious effort to ignore him staring at me like that, but then he employed a sinister laugh that gave me a persistent chill, which was then followed by something that still horrifies me to this day. As he fell directly into the path of the arriving train, I rushed to try to save him, but it was too late. It took me a few seconds to grasp what I had just seen, and I was still in shock when I hurried to the nearest ticket booth to get help, which resulted in an entire shutdown of the subway. The subway employees inspected both the track and the train, but they didn't find any evidence of a body or even a single drop of blood. After checking the tunnels, their attention shifted to me and the tone of the whole situation took a drastic turn for the worse. I implored them to check the cameras to prove that I wasn't lying, but when they reviewed the footage, there was no sign of the man, just me running towards an oncoming train. They told my parents what happened, and rumors spread very quickly after that. As a devoted Catholic, my mother never looked at me the same way again, and my father just put on a brave face. When that happened, the truth didn't really matter that much anymore, and life sort of carried on without ever really going back to normal. I left home the same year and moved into a shabby old apartment downtown. Needless to say, commuting around the city never felt quite the same after that, and I still find myself staring at the ceiling every night, contemplating the truth about what I witnessed that fateful day at the subway. Hey folks, thanks so much for watching until the end of this video. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already and smashing that like button if you enjoyed this animated horror story. It helps a lot and guarantees more animated content from my channel.